Hello fellow Star Wars fans, my name is Star Raptor and I'm excited to bring you another new episode of This Week in Star Wars Canon. If you're new to the show, basically every week I go over everything new in the Star Wars universe that connects back to the movies, so this could be anything from the novels, to the TV series, to the comics, and to even to video games. And speaking of video games, all Season Pass owners of Star Wars Battlefront got the third expansion, Death Star, this week. Okay, so Battlefront Death Star expansion has 3 maps. It has the Imperial Blockade, which is really cool because if you look, it's actually Geonosis in the background, so the Star Destroyers are actually in the belt itself of Geonosis. So a nice little nod to the prequels there in an entirely dominant original trilogy game, so they're sneaking that in there, which I really liked. Next up, we have Inside the Death Star, so you can see a lot of really cool things in here. I came across the trash compactor room, the meeting room where Vader is choking out Mati, I think his name was. Then we also have the cell block, and if you look really closely, this is a deep dive here for us comic book Darth Vader fans. I'm pretty sure I've seen 000 and BT looking at some kind of map or something. And finally, the last map we have is the trench run, the surface of the Death Star, and it is really cool because you can go inside the core pretty much, and it's just a whole lot of fun. And utilizing every one of these maps is the new game mode called Battle Station. So basically how it progresses, if you're the Rebellion, you first start off in the Imperial Blockade map where you're going to try to take out a Star Destroyer. So to do that, you take out waves of TIE Fighters, and then the Y-Wings come in, they lower the shields on the Star Destroyer, and then you take out the shield generators on the bridge, and then one underneath. Once that is done, it opens up the bridge to your bombardment, and you take that out, and it destroys the whole Star Destroyer. So that on the Empire side of things, for the Imperial Blockade phase, you're basically just trying to defend for 10 minutes, I think the time limit is, to defend the Rebels from destroying that Star Destroyer. But if the Rebels do destroy the Star Destroyer, we move on to phase 2, where we go inside the Death Star, and the objective is to actually rescue R2-D2 and to bring him back to your transport, so that it has you running through the halls of the Death Star, and you know, the Empire obviously is trying to stop you there. So that was really cool because you can actually become R2-D2. When you rescue him, you actually become him, and he can shoot out smoke. Also do like a radar so you can see any enemies through the walls. So that was really cool. And finally, so if you rescue R2-D2, then you move on to the trench run phase. And this is where it's really fun to be Rebels, because it automatically assigns you to become one of 3 fighters that has to go and hit these checkpoints. So to win, there's a meter on top of your screen where there's like 8 little bubbles or whatever, and every time you hit the checkpoint, you get a bubble. But it's not as easy as it sounds, because a lot of these checkpoints are inside kind of the Death Star, so you have to weave in and out of all these obstacles, and it's really hard. But at the same time, you're also marked for death by the Empire, so if you're the Empire, you can easily see these trench runners, so you go in and you try to destroy them. And if you're on the Rebel side and you're not picked to go find these checkpoints, then it's in your best interest to be the wingman of those guys and try to fend off any attacks of the Imperials. So that's really fun. When you fill the whole meter on the top with the checkpoints, obviously, fire the proton torpedo into the Death Star, and it becomes history. So that is the Battle Station mode in a nutshell. Additional modes that are supported on these maps are both Fighter Squadron and Blast modes, and we also have new weapons. So we have the TL-50 Heavy Repeater, so this is a heavy blaster type weapon that has an extremely high rate of fire, and you can also charge it and let it go for like a secondary fire effect. We also have the K-16 Briar pistol, which has a charged function as well. What's really cool, in Legends, this is actually Kyle Katarn's weapon from the Dark Forces game. And also, I forgot to mention that the TL-50 Heavy Repeater is from, I think, one of the Jedi Knight games. So it's really cool with them putting these Legends weapons, because as mentioned in my last video for the Bespin DLC, we also had Sana Solo's little blaster rifle there from the comics of Star Wars, so that's really cool. Moving along, we also have new star cards, of course, so we have a laser trip mine, as well as a medical droid, which is kind of reminiscent of the medical droid we have in Star Wars Battlefront 2, so it actually heals you over time, like it just does waves of back to energy
And of course, we have new heroes in this expansion. So we have Bosk, who is one of the fastest type heroes in the game. His abilities, he has a micro grenade launcher, which is very deadly. He has this thing called Predator Vision, where he can actually like see through walls like it's heat vision, because he's kind of like a reptilian type of alien, which is really sweet. And he also has this dioxin grenade jump back ability called Toxic Escape, which is really useful for getting out of those tight little scenarios. His passive ability is called Trandoshan Regeneration, so he actually regenerates health while killing allies or hurting heroes. And also we have Chewbacca, who finally is in the game after 3 expansions. He's a tank type character. One of his abilities is he can shoot multiple bolts from his bowcaster. He also has his ability where he roars and he kind of buffs allies around him, heroes, himself, just regular soldiers. And he has this really cool ground slam that pretty much one-shots anybody that's in its area of effect range. His passive ability is called Furious Firing, and it basically just increases the amounts of bolts he fires by whenever he increases the level of that trait. So of course we get new vehicles. So we have Red 5, which is Luke's X-Wing. So he could use shields, he could use R2-D2 to repair all of the damage that he takes. And of course he has proton torpedoes. That's not all, we also have Darth Vader's TIE Advanced X1. So this has shields unlike any TIE fighters. It also has a speed boost, and it uses Relentless Assault, which grants no overheat and does bonus damage with his cannons. What's really cool is that both of these vehicles actually spawn wingmen, so whenever there's one of these guys on the field, whenever you spawn, you could have the option, if you're on Rebels, to be either Biggs or Wedge, or if you're on the Empire, Vector 1 or 2 or 2 or 3, something like that, which is kind of cool. And speaking of vehicles, also added our vehicle power-ups, so summon friendly AI vehicles to help you. So the Rebels, they have the Y-Wings and the B-Wings, and the Imperials have the TIE Bombers and the TIE Defenders, which is really cool. Does that mean that TIE Defenders are canon? In this game is kind of canon? I mean, we have Shadow Troopers and stuff like that. I'm going to consider them canon if they're in this game. I don't care. They are really, really cool. And these things are very useful. Like, I got like 15 kills in a match solely from these vehicle power-ups. Like, these guys are actually going out, not just killing AI, they're killing like real players are getting killed by these things. And especially, I remember the TIE Defender having a lot of health to take out. Of course, with the new expansion, the level cap raises, so it goes from 70 all the way to 90 in this one, and it includes 4 new outfits as rewards. So on the Rebels, we have an X-Wing pilot suit and a Rebel officer. And on the Empire, we have a Death Star Trooper as well as the Imperial Officer. So overall, my thoughts on this expansion were it was really, really fun. I feel like they really put in a lot of effort for these space battles, because that was something that everyone wanted at launch. And planetary stuff is fun and all, but come on, it's space. I mean, we had it in Battlefront 2, and it reminds me of Rogue Squadron, you know, especially the whole process of taking out the Star Destroyer was really, really cool. But I will say, you know, this kind of felt like a small expansion compared to the Bespin and the Outer Rim run, which they had like all these different modes spread across at least like 4 maps. We only had really like 1 combat map for ground, you know, we had the blast stuff on the Death Star, but we did get 2 space combat, so obviously they were focused on the space combat in this expansion. But I did really enjoy this expansion. I cannot wait for Rogue One Scarif that's coming out, I think the day that the movie comes out, so a really cool tie-in with that.
So I'm curious, do you guys still play Battlefront, or are you actually interested in playing Battlefront now that it has some space combat? You know, that's the thing about DICE with these last couple expansions. They've been listening to player feedback, putting in the features we want in the game. Obviously, we're not going to get a campaign, but they've done the best they could. So let me know in that comment section below what you're thinking of Battlefront right now. And I want to put it out there to you guys that I will be attending New York Comic Con 2016 on all 4 days, October 6th through the 9th. There's going to be 2 Star Wars panels so far that are announced. They have the Hasbro Star Wars panel on Thursday. Then they also have this writers roundtable type panel on Friday featuring some of the comic book writers as well as the novel writers. So I'm very excited, and I want to let you guys know that you should follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, because I'm going to be putting updates throughout the weekend on everything I'm doing there, you know, live streaming maybe a little bit, putting a lot of pictures up. so definitely follow me on all those social media sites. I'm Starraptor. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you. Did you enjoy this video? Then make sure you go ahead and hit that thumbs up symbol. And if you like this video, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Subscribing to my channel will help me out, and it helps you guys out, keeping up to speed on all my latest content. Speaking of which, you can catch my weekly Star Wars show down over there. You can see a recent review I've done over there, and you can follow me on social media, Twitter @Starraptor, as well as Facebook.com/Starraptor.